Hello everyone, and welcome to CM50, the video edition. In this video, we'll be expanding on Unit 12 of CM50, which covers questions. Now, before we get into questions, we need to talk once again about particles. Now, you might remember that particles have more of a function than a meaning. And the first one that we want to look at now is the yes-no question particle ma. Now, how does this work? Let's have a look at an example sentence. This is mine. 这是我的. Now, if we want to change this statement into a question, in English, we need to change the word order. So, this is mine. Is this mine? But this is not the case with the Chinese. 这是我的 statement. 这是我的吗? Question. So we've not had to rearrange the Chinese sentence because in Chinese we can simply add ma at the end of a statement to ask a question that can be answered with yes or no. Here's another example. They will attend the meeting. That's a statement. 他们会参加聚会. How do we turn the English into a question? By rearranging the sentence. Will they attend the meeting? How about the Chinese? Statement. 他们会参加聚会. To change that into a yes or no question, we simply add ma. 他们会参加聚会吗? Here's another example. You like coffee. That's a statement. Let's turn that into a question. Do you like coffee? How about the Chinese? 你喜欢咖啡? Statement. Question. 你喜欢咖啡吗? And one more example. There really is a God. Let's turn that into a question. Is there really a God? And now for the Chinese. 真的有上帝 statement. Turn that into a question by adding ma. 真的有上帝吗? So, one way to form a yes-no question is to simply add the yes-no question particle ma to the end of a statement. Another way is the verb-不-verb. Now, how does this work? Well, let's go back to this sentence. Is this mine? 这是我的吗? So here, the verb is 是, and we're forming the yes-no question using ma at the end of the sentence. 这是我的吗? But we could also use the verb-不-verb structure and say 这是不是我的? So verb-不-verb 是不是? 这是不是我的? Now, when we use the verb-不-verb structure, we do not use ma. So we cannot say something like 这是不是我的吗? This is incorrect. When we use the verb-不-verb structure, we do not use ma. 这是不是我的? Here's another example, again revisiting a previous sentence. Will they attend the meeting? 他们会参加聚会吗? How would we change this to a verb-不-verb sentence? 他们会不会参加聚会? 他们会不会参加聚会? So notice that the verb-不-verb pattern is applied to the auxiliary verb 会 and not the main verb 参加. So it's 他们会不会参加聚会 and not 他们会参加不参加聚会. This is incorrect. 他们会不会参加聚会? And that applies to all auxiliary verbs. 你能不能帮忙? So here, the auxiliary verb is 能, and the main verb is 帮忙. So it's not 你能 帮忙不帮忙? It's the auxiliary verb that gets repeated. 你能不能帮忙? And something else to note, when the verb is 2 syllables long, it is more common to shorten the first instance of the verb to its first syllable. So let's go back to this question. Do you like coffee? 你喜欢咖啡吗? So here the verb is 喜欢, and we say it in its full form because we're using the question particle ma. But when we use the verb-不-verb structure, we can say 你喜欢不喜欢咖啡? This is acceptable, but it's more common to say 你喜不喜欢咖啡? So I've shortened the first instance of the verb to its first syllable. 你喜不喜欢咖啡? Another example, can I play video games? 我可以玩电子游戏吗? Now here, the verb is 可以, so the auxiliary verb is 可以, the main verb is 玩. Now because I'm using the ma particle, I have to say the verb in its full form. 我可以玩电子游戏吗? However, when we use the verb-不-verb structure, we shorten the first instance of the auxiliary verb 可以. 我可不可以玩电子游戏? 我可不可以玩电子游戏? So this is verb-不-verb. However, for the verb 有, the structure is verb-没-verb. So for example, do you have money? 你有钱吗? So here I'm using the yes-no question particle. 你有钱吗? Verb-没-verb would be 你有没有钱? 你有没有钱? So, 3 ways to ask a yes-no question. Verb-不-verb, and for the verb 有, it's verb-没-verb, and we can also use yes-no question particle ma. How do we answer a yes-no question? Well, in Chinese, there is no word for yes or no. Instead, yes is indicated by affirming the verb from the question, and no is indicated by negating the verb. Let's have a look at this sentence. Do you like coffee? 你喜欢咖啡吗? How would we say yes to this? Well, the verb is 喜欢, so to say yes, we simply repeat the verb. 喜欢. So, do you like coffee? Yes. 你喜欢咖啡吗? 喜欢. What if we wanted to say no? 不喜欢. 你喜欢咖啡吗? 不喜欢. This is how we would say no by negating the verb. And the same is true of the verb-不-verb structure. 你喜不喜欢咖啡? 喜欢, yes. 不喜欢, no. Now, when it comes to questions with the auxiliary verb, it is the auxiliary verb that gets affirmed or negated to say yes or no, respectively. 他们会参加聚会吗? 会, yes. 不会, no. And this is the same for verb-不-verb. 他们会不会参加聚会? 会, yes. 不会, no. Now, what about if the verb is 有? Does he have siblings? 他有兄弟姐妹吗? Well, the verb is 有, so it's this that either gets affirmed or negated. 有, yes. 没有, no. Do you have money? 你有没有钱? Yes, 有. No, 没有. So, 3 ways to ask a yes or no question: verb-没-verb, verb-不-verb, and the yes-no question particle ma. Now let's take a look at another particle which is for open-ended questions, and this is no. Why would we use this? Well, when the need arises to ask a question that requires more than a yes or no answer, in other words, it's an open-ended question, the particle ne is often used. So, for example, what is this? 这是什么呢？这是什么呢？ Why don't you like cats? Explain yourself. 你为什么不喜欢猫呢? Now, in these kind of scenarios, when we're asking open-ended questions, it is actually possible to omit ne. So we could just say, 你为什么不喜欢猫? So what is the difference between 你为什么不喜欢猫 and 你为什么不喜欢猫呢? Well, as it says on page 19, unit 12.5, with ne, the sentences would be considered slightly softer, hence more polite. So it is optional and not a massive change, but if we include it, if we add it at the end of the sentence, then that sentence would be slightly softer, slightly more polite. However, there are instances when ne is strictly necessary. It cannot be omitted. And in such instances, it would carry the meaning of what about. Let's take a look at an example where ne is being used as a context-dependent question particle. 你呢? So what does 你呢 mean? Well, if I were to say, my name is Wayne, 我叫韦恩, 你呢? The context is I've just said my name, and if I say 你呢, that means what about you? What's your name? But if I were to say, tomorrow I'm going to the park, 我明天去公园, what would 你呢 mean in this case? It would mean, what are you doing tomorrow? So I've set the context by saying, I'm going to the park tomorrow. And when I say 你呢, you, it means, what are you doing tomorrow? 我喜欢猫, 你呢? I like cats. You? So now I'm asking, what is your opinion? What about you? Do you like cats? So that's the context. Here's another example. 你太太呢? Your wife? So what is the context for this? It could be anything. So a married man could say, oh, I'm a teacher. 我是老师. And if we ask them, 你太太呢? What are we asking? We're saying, what about your wife? What does she do? If a man comes to an event by himself and we say to them, 你太太呢? What are we asking? Well, the context is that he's here by himself. And so in a way, we're asking, oh, where's your wife? So in these kind of scenarios where the question is context dependent, we cannot omit ne. So if a man says 我是老师, we cannot say 你太太. This is incorrect. So we have to say 你太太呢? What about your wife? What does she do? And the same will be true if I said 我叫韦恩. I couldn't just say 你. This is incorrect. 我叫韦恩, 你呢? So that's the question particle ne. Now let's take a look at question words. On page 20, unit 12.6, we have this list of question words. Who, 谁, what, 什么, why, 为什么, when, 什么时候, where, 哪里, how, 怎样. Now let's go through these one by one. First, the question word 谁. Take a look at this example sentence. Who would like to read this verse? 谁想读这节经文? So you might notice that thankfully, the word order in English is the same in Chinese. Now, how could we answer this question? I would like to read this scripture. 我想读这节经文. And it's interesting that in the English, the question word is at the beginning, who, and the answer is at the beginning, I. Same with the Chinese, question word at the beginning, 谁, and the answer word is also at the beginning, 我. So here we have an instance where the word order for the English and Chinese is exactly the same for both the question and the answer. However, more often than not, that is not the case. For example, who is Jesus? 耶稣是谁? What do you notice? In English, the question word is at the beginning, who. In the Chinese, the question word is at the end, 谁. So which do you think is more logical? Well, let's take a look at the answer. Jesus is the Son of God. 耶稣是上帝的儿子. So in the English, the question word who is at the beginning of the sentence, but the answer, the Son of God, is at the end of the sentence. How about the Chinese? The question word 谁 is at the end of the sentence, and the answer 上帝的儿子 is also at the end of the sentence. So while in the English, we have to change the word order around between the question and the answer, we do not need to do this in Chinese. We keep the same word order and we simply replace the question word 谁 with the answer 上帝的儿子. Let's take a look at another example, this time using the question word what, 什么. What is the theme of the talk? 演讲的主题是什么? Let's take a look at the answer. The theme of the talk is imitate God. 演讲的主题是效法上帝. So in English, what, question word, is the theme of the talk? The theme of the talk is answer, imitate God. So the word order has been changed around. The answer is at the end. The question word is at the beginning. In Chinese, 演讲的主题是 question word 什么? 演讲的主题是 answer 效法上帝. We've replaced the question word 什么 with the answer 效法上帝 without changing any of the word order. Why? 为什么? Now let's first break this down. What does 为什么 actually mean? Well, 为 means for, and as we've already learned, 什么 means what. So, for what? 为什么? Or in other words, why? Why can't you come to my house? 为什么你不能来我的家? Let's take a look at the answer. Because I'm busy. 因为我很忙. Now actually, here, whether it's English or Chinese, the whole sentence is the answer to the question. So we don't actually need to be concerned about the word order. However, you might notice we've said 为什么你不能来我的家? In Chinese, it's also completely possible to say 你为什么不能来我的家? So 为什么你不能来我的家 or 你为什么不能来我的家? Both are completely possible and very common. When? 什么时候? So let's break this down. What? 什么? Time? 时候. What time? 什么时候? Or in other words, when? When do you have time? 你什么时候有空? Now here, 有空 actually means have space, have free time. So 有空 here means time, free time. 你什么时候有空? Now, we cannot say 什么时候你有空? So this is incorrect. The only correct way is 你什么时候有空? Let's have a look at the answer. I have time tomorrow. 我明天有空. So when, question word, do you have time? I have time, answer, tomorrow. In Chinese, 你, question word, 什么时候有空? 我, answer, 明天有空. So no change in the word order. We simply replace 什么时候 with 明天. Where? 哪里? Where are my keys? 我的钥匙在哪里? Now here, just to highlight the use of 在, which you've learned about in previous lessons. So when we want to ask where something is or say where something is, we must say 在哪里? So it would be incorrect to say 我的钥匙哪里? This is incorrect. 我的钥匙在哪里 is the correct form. Let's have a look at the answer. Your keys are here. 你的钥匙在这里. So, where, question word, are my keys? Your keys are, answer, here. Again, a change in the word order. Not so with the Chinese. 我的钥匙在, question word, 哪里? 你的钥匙在, answer, 这里. Finally, how, 怎样. Now we need a bit more space for this because when we ask how, usually the response is much longer than with other questions. So, how can we draw close to God? 我们可以怎样亲近上帝? Now it's important to note that the word order in Chinese is different to the word order in English. So it might be tempting to try and follow the English word order and say 怎样可以我们亲近上帝? But this is completely incorrect. And sometimes we might hear 我们怎样可以亲近上帝? This is also incorrect. So the correct structure is 我们 subject, 可以 auxiliary verb, 怎样 how 亲近上帝. 我们可以怎样亲近上帝? Let's have a look at the answer. We can draw close to God through prayer. 我们可以通过祷告亲近上帝. So the question, how can we draw close to God? We can draw close to God, answer, through prayer. Again, a change in the word order. But in Chinese, 我们可以怎样亲近上帝? That's the question. The answer, 我们可以通过祷告亲近上帝. So we've replaced 怎样 with 通过祷告. No change in the word order. So 通过 means through and 祷告 means prayer. So this has been a detailed look into questions, and don't forget that the video is split up into chapters which you can find in the description. As always, plenty more to come in the following units. See you next time.